So anyway, a lot of these particular groups came out, including the Illuminati group and Weishaupt and all the rest of it. Weishaupt was only one member, and one little lodge of the Bienen Order of Germany, the Order of the Bees. The Beehive represents the perfectly ordered society. And he does, that's the same symbol. In fact, that was the first experiment they set up in their back garden of the Royal Society in England, which is a scientific Freemasonic society set up to guide the world along the proper areas of science and directions of science. So, and all the way back to Egypt as well. And in the US and some of the highly Freemasonic states in the US, like Utah, where Mormons are, their symbol is the beehive again. So these are all old symbols that go back for thousands of years, many of them, which are still used by the disaffected to bring in what they believe is a perfect society. Eugenicists, of course, like it too, for an ordered society, etc. Now, when you go into what's called now today the New Age came out really off the Madame Blavatsky movement. It was a system set up to get the women in for a change, to get them involved in revolutions and to change society. And she had her uncle supposedly from Russia was a high mason, and she claimed to read his books. But her job was, she said, was to blend the mysticism and religions of the East with the West for a future society. You see, to make it possible for a future society, kind of multicultural. And if you look at today's society, in Britain especially, the primary immigrants in Britain are from India. And so she pushed the Indian philosophies and so on. The Beatles promoted it too for a while. And in came the influx from India, which made it more acceptable to the people. Like these folk were more special. They knew esoteric stuff, and at least that's what folk believed, you know. And it was much easier integration as people were fascinated by them. So you prepare a society before you introduce the foreign element to it, or foreign logic or whatever. And so it was carefully done. And you'll find even in writings like Albert Pike, who was the Pope of Freemasonry from Charlton, Virginia. And he said, he ran the world, he was the head as well of the World Revolutionary Movement, which eventually became, through Mazzini, the World Communist Movement. And after Mazzini, it was Lenin who took over. So these were world revolutionaries using secrecy and a mixture of esoteric knowledge, as they called it. A lot of it was simple coding and stuff, you know. But to alter society and direct society into a planned area they wanted it all to go to. And today, unfortunately, the esoteric side, you understand there's two things. You can use any factual information for two different ways, any time in history. You can, if people are waking up to something that's going on, it's far easier to keep them running in circles, chasing their tails, by giving them the esoteric or aliens to follow and chase. It's far easier, it's better for governments because the heat's taken off them. It's not them at fault. No, you're run by blood-sucking reptiles and rubbish like this, you see. Distraction and fascination. There are people who get caught up in it.
All those curious people that could otherwise be looking behind the curtain.
Absolutely. And the politicians are so happy because you're not blaming the politicians for selling you out in any particular area. The heat's off them. Well, they can't help it. You see, it's the aliens that are ruling it behind the scenes. That's beautiful, isn't it?
But even the New World Order serves that function. Why write to your local congressman or whatever when it's the New World Order? It's beyond you. You can't attack that system.
You have to ask them what they mean by a New World Order. There's always been orders in society. And at one point when Britain ruled the waves, that was the British naval order for the world. During the Cold War, the world order then was East against West. After the Cold War, we're basically into another New World Order, and that's what Bush Sr. was talking about, a New World Order coming into view, and so on. But it's not finished yet, because with the rise of China, which was planned and discussed at the Royal Institute of International Affairs in the 1930s, I have their meeting, their members' books here. And every famous person in governments from all over the world attended those meetings. they said they'd make China rise. China would rise to be the manufacturer of the future. If the average person heard that back then, they would never have believed it. It'd be ridiculous, impossible. But it was planned as far back as then. And China, even if you go back to Arnold Toynbee, the professor at Oxford, and he in the 1930s, he said eventually, America, towards the end of the century, will be exhausting itself. It will come back for one more push and then be completely bankrupted. And then China would take over as the policeman of the world.
Now that's frightening.
Well, most folk today, with all the great propaganda we get and the way it's put over by propagandists and scientific linguistical patterns of speech and so on, and repetition, it's very simple ways of doing it. You can train the public to accept it. A lot of them will accept this.
Alan, you're a fascinating guy. I could just listen to you for hours.